Hey guys, this is Jeff on the Untitled podcast today. If you don't know who we are, you can go to www.entrefied.com. You'll find yourself at Untitled. Entre means entering, fied means satisfied. We define Untitled as entering into your success, personal, professional. Let me get to the point. The podcast today is part 2 of our what we call PAR program, which is our PAR workbook. PAR stands for plan, action, and repeat. So here's the thing. I want to talk to you today about part 2. Part 1 is the morning routine. I hope you've seen that. If you haven't watched it, watch it. It's free, guys. Just take advantage of it. And this is something you can do for the rest of your life. Don't spend your days the same unproductive way every day. Use this material, but you have to do it. You can't just know it. You have to do it every day of your life. And it doesn't take that much. It really doesn't. If you'll take 10 minutes, you can do that. You can do the morning routine. That's part 1 of the PAR course that I was telling you about. It's in our free newsletter on Untitled. So get inside our free newsletter and you get it. You get it for free. Anyway, moving on to part 2. Part 2 is this, okay? We're going to get more into questions and things like that. But right now, stopping the negative mindsets. Before we get into questioning, you think, well, why questioning? Questioning is going to help you narrow down what you want. That's why. Now, let me show you a little bit before we get started. If you're watching the video, you'll see when I get on past the stopping negative mindsets, you'll see that there's questions that I'm starting to ask you. You know, I'll give you an example. What is the number one thing that you want? You know, a lot of people they say, well, I know what I want. I don't have to write it down. It's good to have it wrote down so you know a little bit. Let me give you another one. What are some of the small things that you can implement right now that would help you achieve what you want? Let me give you another one. I want you to think how you would want your life to be ideally. What do you want to accomplish? If your life was exactly what you wanted, what would it look like? What kind of person would you be? It might sound ridiculous, but don't you think that it would be better, have a better shot of knowing exactly what you want than rather than just, I'll just figure it out along the way. If you have a picture and you have it laid out, you know what you look like, you know what you smell like, you know how you carry yourself. I mean, all of these things add up to a picture, a vision, and it's important. It's important to have a vision of where you want to go. Anyway, I don't want to spend a lot of time on a rant and kind of get on my own soapbox, so to speak. But there's lots of questions. I don't want to get into that. Before we get into all of this, I want to tell you about stopping the negative mindsets. That's so important. You know what I'm saying? It's easy for you to know something, but it's not easy for you to do something about it. So I even run into this a lot in my own life, but I can tell you that I've successfully flipped the script. You think, well, what do you mean flip the script? I've been having a bad time at something mentally, like for instance, somebody cut me off in traffic, or somebody calls you a name, or somebody does something insensitive to what you've done for them. You know, I run into a person, but I want to get into the story right fast, and I'll be really quick, guys. I run into somebody one time that was talking to me, and they was talking about how their family was not treating them right. And they went into telling me this stuff, and all I could sit there and think during the time that this person was telling me was, you're making a mistake by even thinking about it. It doesn't mean whether that person is right or wrong. It's the fact that they keep thinking about it. You know, when you do something for somebody, you better not think you're going to get something in return. If you're doing it for that reason, a lot of times you'll be let down. But anyway, I'm getting off track here. I want to get back on track. What I'm trying to say is when you see your mind is going somewhere negative, if you can stop it, a lot of times you can have better days. And better days they go to better weeks and better months and then better years. And I know that seems far out, but what if every day of your life you could control in large part if you were successful or not? I mean, how much would that make a difference in your life? A huge amount. So let's get to that. Get in our free newsletter on our Untitled website, guys, and you can do more than read. You can have that right at your disposal. But getting into this, stopping negative mindset, this involves starting to recognize the negative thoughts and mindsets and then trying to restructure the way you think about things. One of the things is recognizing how you feel. Is it negative? Is it positive? Address what the truth is and try to reconstruct or restructure the wrong thing to something positive. You know, I had a person cut me off, hadn't been too long in traffic, and the thought come through my mind. I thought, boy, you feel entitled, don't you? You just come on right out there. You know, that thought kind of come through my mind or something like that thought. But I stopped myself and I realized, okay, wait a minute. Whoa, is it okay to have that thought? Well, some would say yes, but some would say also it's maybe okay to have that thought, but you need to stop that thought before it becomes something else, anger or doing something else that may be wrong. You know, trying to get, let's say you got road rage, which I didn't, but let's just say you allowed your mind to get to that point, or you went on to work, or you went on to the gym, or you went home, or you went to your friend's house, and you were still thinking about that, still focusing on that. Well, here's what happened. I was able to stop myself just for a moment and think, okay, how can I reconstruct this? Because obviously this doesn't matter. You say, well, it does matter. They did that. No, you don't understand. It doesn't matter if you don't make it matter for your future. So I don't understand what you're saying. I'm saying you can let it run the rest of your day. It can frame, it can frame the rest of your day. There's a thing called framework. Framework is the underbuild, the underlayment, so to speak. If you allow your underlayment to be just this hostile or negative environment, you're never going to be able to build a successful day on it. So what I've done is I thought, okay, what can I learn? How can I reconstruct this? I'm not going to read this, guys, to you. I've got it right here. You can read it for yourself when you get the free newsletter, or you can read it on the screen if you don't want to get the free newsletter. But anyway, the point is, and you should get the newsletter. There's no reason I don't think that you shouldn't. You get a lot of great content, including transcripts and things like that. We have, I don't know how many, hundreds, or not hundreds, probably about 160 something transcripts, something like that. I'm still uploading those. So, but anyway, to the point. The point is this, that, I stopped myself and I thought, okay, how can I construct this? Well, I thought, well, this is going to teach me that I need to pull up faster. I need to pay attention. I need to, if I need to pull out, I need to go ahead and do it. Then I also thought, this is going to teach me to watch out for other people more than what I was. And see, a lot of these things you may think, well, I already know that. It doesn't matter sometimes if it's truthful or not. What I mean is if it just is this great epiphany, like you just come up with this great epiphany about it. It matters to the point that it affects your day. For instance, I already knew that to watch out for people, but watching out for people more when this happened and starting to recognize that, it painted this new scenario in my mind as if I'd learned something from this. And I instantly thought and felt better. Okay, this is something I've learned from. This is something I can, use. I felt better. You say, well, that's just crazy. No, I'm telling you, if you start to live your life like this, and it's something you have to try to learn to do. It's not something you just come out the gate. Everything's like that. You have great days. No, you're going to have bad days. I have bad days, but I'm saying a lot of times I can reconstruct some of the negative things into positive things where they don't ruin my day. So what I done was those things, and I felt better. And I hope you guys are seeing, I know you probably don't see this exactly, but some of you are. I hope a lot of you are. But I'm talking about not just somebody cutting you off in traffic, somebody saying something mean to you, or somebody, you run into these situations every day and you're constantly bombarded by situations that happen all the time and you don't have no plan for them. You really don't have no plan for people. I said the word people. Yes, people. There is certain people that will push your buttons. There is certain people, we could go in there. That could be the rest of the night. I don't want to get there and stick and stay and be in a rut the rest of the night. You have to learn how to effectively deal with the person in front of you. Doesn't mean they're a bad person, but some of the things that they do may affect you in a negative way if you allow it to. How do you deal with them effectively? How do you learn how to do that? I mentioned it before. But I think it is important to understand the personality types and things like that so you know what you're dealing with. But once you know what you're dealing with, you have to learn how to deal with people. And how you learn how to deal with people is past knowledge. You have to start applying some of the knowledge every day and trying to figure those things out. So let me move on. I don't want to waste your time here, guys. I want you to move on and get this, but you're going to have to effectively start taking some action on those things that keep happening. You know, if there's something that happens every day, then you ought to be able to plan to get by it, or at least work on it. You know, so many times we face the same problems. They're just different forms of the same problem. We have to learn how to address those things. If you've got a negative in your life, if somebody, when you walk in the door, they're saying something bad to you, or if there's just some event in your life that keeps happening, what can you do positively about it? Now, I'm not talking about just people. I'm talking about places, things. I'm talking about feelings that you have. How do you effectively take charge and plan those things and get past those things? And if you can't get past those things, how do you plan them and take action to try? How do you do that? Don't wait till the day of. Start thinking how you're going to get ahead of something. Be proactive, not reactive. When we start, we may be reactive. If we're experienced, then we're already thinking before we get there a lot of times on something we don't even know, because we've lived enough life to realize that this is going to happen. I may not know everything about this situation, but let's plan for it. And sure enough, guess what? There's trouble. There's problems. You know, I've heard it said this before, that a lot of problems, there lies an opportunity for growth. And I'm giving you a lot of, you know, positive mumbo jumbo. But the truth is, a lot of this is practical. It's logical. So I want you to think about the things in your life like that. What are the areas in your life right now that you need to be addressing? Okay, I'm going to move on. I hope you got something from that. This is a really long area here, and so I don't want to waste a lot of your time here. Take a moment. I'm going to go over some of these questions right now. Take a moment and list some of the negative things you tell yourself. That's super important. What are you telling yourself every day? And you really think you're going to be positive? You really think you're going to leap over, you know, mountains, molehills? You know, are you really going to jump over things? If you're telling yourself every day you're no good, you're not strong enough, you're not smart enough, you have to start recognizing those negative patterns. If you say something to yourself in the morning, I can't lift that, like you're in a gym, maybe you can't lift it. But here's the thing that you can reconstruct. You say, you know what, I may not be able to lift that. It may be true that I can't lift that. But here's the thing. Maybe I can lift this. Can I lift this? Can I work towards something? Can I work to lifting that? If that's something you want. I'm not saying just be crazy and think, oh, I can just accomplish this or that when you haven't put the time and work in. Well, what I am saying is try to reconstruct the negative to have a positive light on it. Somebody's better than you at something. Well, maybe they put more time, work, practice. There could be a lot of different things factored in there. Talent, you know. I don't know about you, but really, I really think the talent is one thing, but the work ethic is important. Talent's one thing. Work ethic is another thing. Think about that. Start putting the work in. Let's move on. I think it's important to research and study every day in your field. I think that's super important. I'm going through these fast because I don't want to waste a lot of your time. Finding a superior process is more than important sometimes. That's really important. What is the number one thing you want? I mentioned that earlier. What are some of the small things that you can implement right now that would help you achieve what you want? I want you to think how you would want your life to be ideally. And I mentioned this earlier too. How would you accomplish that? And if that person was standing in front of you right now, imagine that person. Imagine that person standing in front of you right now and telling you exactly how you do it. You already have the answers in a lot of cases. You're just not applying it. You're just not putting the work in. I want you to think about how you want your life to be ideally. What do you want to accomplish? If your life was exactly what you wanted, what would it look like? What kind of person would you be? Then write down a general overview of what your ideal life would look like. How to visualize it. What's one thing you could do right now in your life that would help you make the most difference in achieving your goals and dreams? What's one thing? What's one simple thing? You might put it like that. What are some of the action steps that you can take right now? See, all these things is in our workbook. This is part of the workbook. This is part 2 of it. In your everyday life, what are some things at work or at home that you struggle with? How can you limit the struggle? Now, let's talk about negative things, right? We're talking about those too. But what are some of the things that you struggle with? That's kind of related to the negative attitude, the negative mentality, the negative things that you talk about, but it's also your struggles at home, your professional struggles. Oh man, I feel like I'm really going over on this podcast. I'm sorry, guys, but I want to give you great content. I want to give you great value. But I want you to, how can you limit the struggle and maybe find a positive solution altogether? I want you to try to find and list some of the possible solutions that might help you be more effective, less stressed, happier. It could be something as simple as scheduling a break. How ridiculous does that sound, right? You need to get your head right. I'm going to leave you with this thought, okay? It is not sometimes the load you carry. It's not the load, how heavy it is. It's how you carry it. I said that backwards. Let me say it again. It's not how heavy the load is. It's how you're carrying it. So, well, how do I carry it? You're just carrying it sometimes like one person, another person. Our mind is not right. Our attitude is not right. We're not doing what we know to do. We don't have it planned out. We may have a plan, but we're not organized. We're not putting it into action. It's okay to have a plan sometimes that don't work. What's not okay is sometimes is when you have that plan and it don't work and you quit. Take the plan. If it don't work, find the information that you need. That goes back to PAR, plan, action, and repeat. So you plan for what you want. You take action on it. Then you look and you adapt and you say, hey, wait a minute. I got feedback. What I need to do now? You use that feedback. You make another plan. You take action. You repeated it. So plan, action, repeat. Plan, action, repeat. I hope that makes sense. I feel like I went on and on about this, but really, guys, your mindset is so important. Find a way to make your days great by getting up, finding something that you want to do, starting out, working towards your goal, making the list. Go back to PAR 1, right? Where I talked about that morning routine. What will make your day great? What will make your days great? Go back to PAR 1. If you haven't seen PAR 1, get the morning routine. And I talk about this. I talk about when you wake up, make a list of the things that you want to do. List something that you are really enjoying today that you want to look forward to, right? So you got something that you're looking forward to. And then you look at it from the standpoint, okay, you've got those things in there. So now you've got something to work toward. What did you learn yesterday? What did you learn today? If you're repeating the coursework at night, what did you learn? Write down those things. What could you have done better? What did you do well? And then the second part of that is, now that you know those things, what are you going to do with that information today? It ain't just writing it down. It's taking that information and applying it tomorrow. And here's the thing, you have to learn. This is super important. Please get this. You have to capture what you want to remember. Don't be so, well, I remember that. No, if it's important and you learned a lesson, don't forget it. Write it down. Find a way to record it and capture it. I hope you got something from this today, but it's all about capturing your information, your mindset, and recognizing negative patterns. I call it sometimes negative turmoil. Get our free newsletter in Untitled. Just go to the website, www.entrefied.com. You'll see the free newsletter. I have got that in the free newsletter. You will get this that I'm talking about right now. And if you'll start applying this, you don't have to do this part every day, part 2 every day. I'm not saying that, but this is part of the workbook, right? I think there's a part 3 to this. I have really slimmed this down. It was a lot more information, but I felt like it was overwhelming, and I didn't want it to be like that. Part 1 is something that you need to do every day. Part 2, and I believe there's part 3 now. it's just, it's something you complete, but part one is something that you need to do daily. This is something you need to review even after you go through it, but it's part two and part three is later. Guys, I hope you got something from this. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.